President Biden struggles to keep his campaign on track. The View standing beside him and blaming the media for his campaign woes. Let's watch.
I'm worried and I'm pissed. Frankly, I'm livid. Because for the last 8 days, it feels to me, I have seen nothing but breathless reporting. It almost feels like media malpractice of them trying to score the winning goal against Biden. Who can have the gotcha moment? They've been splicing, dicing, cubing everything he says, putting on a microscopic slide, and then looking at it under all sorts of magnifying glasses. Look. Joe Biden is the nominee. He is the human being standing between us and Donald Trump. I think Democrats need to stop making the case against Joe Biden and start making the case against Donald Trump. I think the media needs to give some parity to the coverage that they are doing, because in their zeal to fact check Joe Biden, they too are making mistakes.
Maybe she should be mad at the media for it taking this long to make the problems with Joe Biden's cognitive abilities so obvious. Now, Ana Navarro goes on to say the Biden she saw the day after the debate was different. Take a listen.
But I saw Joe Biden, so I'm not an anonymous source. I'm not somebody pretending to have spoken to him. No, I actually did speak to him, and he was just fine. He had a bad night. And until Joe Biden tells me he is out, I am riding with Biden-Harris.
Whoopi Goldberg also said she would stand by the president no matter what. Let's watch.
I don't care if he's pooped his pants. I don't care if he can't put a sentence together. Show me he can't do the job, and then I'll say, okay, maybe it's time to go. Now, he had a bad night the first time that he went out and debated with Kamala Harris. And everybody wanted him to quit then, say, you can't talk to women like this, or you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. He came back, said, you know what, I got it, and gave 4 years.
She went on to say she'd rather choose Biden than choose a man who is, quote, out to destroy the country. Meanwhile, co-host Sarah Haynes said she'd also be voting for Biden, but said she didn't think Biden would win against Trump. So, lots of mixed views coming from The View, but they all have the same flavor. These ladies are all bleeding heart liberals, and to hear them say that journalists have it out for Biden because they're putting what he says under a microscope, paying close attention to the man in the White House, is not putting a man under a microscope and unfairly criticizing Biden. Saying journalists whose job it is to report on what's happening in the country should instead make the case against Trump instead of making the case against Biden, that's not the role of the press or the role of the media. I don't know why they think that the role of the media is to be advocates for the Democratic Party. That's never been the role of journalism. It's just ridiculous. I think that's why they've earned the title of Blue MAGA.
Yeah, Ana Navarro says there should be parity between how much close scrutiny Biden gets and Trump gets. Yes, there should be parity. For the first time ever, there is parity. What you're seeing right now is parity, because for years, the media has relentlessly covered Donald Trump, often fairly. I've pushed back when I think they're being unfair to Trump, but Trump is someone involved in a lot of potential wrongdoing that is getting justified scrutiny. I think his activities relating to January 6th were awful, and those have gotten deserved scrutiny, as have so many others matters involving Trump. Trump is relentlessly covered by the media, and there ought to be parity. Biden, why it feels out of proportion right now is because they've been going soft on Biden, particularly on the age-related concerns that have been top of voters' mind for forever. That was clearly indicated by polls of a supermajority of people and a majority of Democrats saying they had concerns that he could not serve another term. The media, in some cases, missed that story. I'm sure there are certain cases of a partisan or a biased media wanting not to cover that story. There are cases of them just taking just being too credulous of what Team Biden was telling them. There are cases of also media reporters trying to get at the story, but being prevented by Biden's handlers. I'm not saying it was easy necessarily to report the story, but what you are seeing right now is a media that is giving you accurate, credible information about Biden's mental and physical state. And if that feels unfair, it's not unfair. It's because it was unfair previously. It's because they didn't, for a variety of reasons, invest enough effort to tell that story until it became obvious, it became undeniable to the American people in the wake of the debate performance. That's what's different now. He is getting the scrutiny he always should have been getting. We always should have been wondering, is this person capable of doing the job now, let alone for 4 more years? I can't imagine Joe Biden making it through a second term, and I think a lot of the American people are starting to feel the same way.
And let's not forget, some of the same people who write for the New York Times wrote op-eds in 2016 about how Sanders was too old during the Democratic primary. Back then, those same people are making the case for why Joe Biden should not drop out. That's ridiculous. It's a double standard to think that you have these criticisms for Bernie Sanders in 2016, but Joe Biden's fine to run in 2024. It doesn't make any sense. Almost 10 years have passed. He's going to be so much older than Sanders was in 2016. And I think The View, echoing this sentiment that's coming directly from the White House, is exactly why people don't trust media. I don't know why we have a group of women meeting for morning coffee, gossiping about politics. Why do they have cameras and microphones on them? And why do they think they can criticize journalists? It doesn't make sense to me that this is America as well. The View is demonstrative of American demise. The fact that so many people get their news from a show like that, I just have a lot of disdain for The View. I don't think these ladies sitting around talking should have influence over our politics, and I hope people who watch The View seek out sources that are actually critical of government, not people who just fall in line and say that they'll vote for someone who so clearly doesn't have what it takes to win. And it's honestly crazy that they're giving different perspectives, but the most extreme one is that I'll vote for Joe Biden no matter what. I don't care if he pooped his pants. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum, I will vote for Joe Biden as well, but I think he will lose. What is going on that these are the perspectives being shared on a widely watched show? I don't know, Robbie. Just to me, it gives a very weird vibe that we have a group of women that don't have a background in politics, that have backgrounds in entertainment, and are giving their opinions on politics and are widely trusted by a lot of middle-aged women across the country. I think it's bad. I think it's poisonous. I think we need news sources that are critical of the White House, no matter who's in it.
Yeah, I think your point about Bernie Sanders is very good. I mean, Bernie Sanders is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's a year older than Joe Biden, but we played a clip of him earlier today on the show in a different segment where he's talking about Joe Biden's situation. And again, it's not so much the literal age number because people age differently at different rates. Bernie Sanders sounds the same as he's always sounded. There's no... Yeah. There's nothing that suggests any sort of cognitive decline whatsoever. It's so different for when compared to Joe Biden. You know, and people have made comparisons to like Ronald Reagan. I watched last week Ronald Reagan's final press conference where he addressed a range of questions from reporters that weren't necessarily confrontational, but he had to jump very swiftly from a bunch of different topics. He had to recall facts about many different world leaders, about the political situations in different parts of the world. And he did it without any problem. And they were saying, right, that there was some evidence of age-related issues setting in for him. It's night and day compared with what we're seeing from Joe Biden. So none of this bodes well for Democrats. It does. At the end of the day, it doesn't surprise me that the ladies of The View are saying we'll vote for Joe Biden no matter what condition he's in. I get that they support Biden over Trump. I'm not surprised. But really, that's not the question before them or before Democratic decision makers or Democratic aligned media officials. The question is, should they support not Biden over Trump? Obviously, they support Biden over Trump, but should they support Biden over someone else versus Trump? That's the conversation being had, although it's whether that conversation is getting through to Joe Biden or is capable of changing his mind in the least bit very much remains to be seen. But we will continue discussing it on Rising all this week. I'm sure there will be a lot more news on this front to report tomorrow. That does it for us, however, for today. Great having you back on, Jess, and you will be here tomorrow as well, I believe.
It is true. It's me and you again, Rob.
That will be great. I look forward to it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.